Here we go again. We have your weekend Apple news. Welcome back to the channel. So here we go again. What do we do on the weekends? We know by now. We go through the Apple news. So I'm going to go through about 20 or 25 different Apple-related news stories. This time I got some really good Apple-related sales as well, including a $699 MacBook that's new and not the M1. That's pretty good too, right? And then over here, what do I have here? A rum and coke this week. I have a rum and coke, and the only way you should make a rum and coke is with this right here. Nothing else, and I'm sticking to that. Anyways, without further ado, and some guy said don't say that, but I'm going to say it anyway. Let's get into the Apple news. All right, with story number one, we're just going to jump right into this really good sale here. Now, take a step back. If this is not available when you check this out, it might be sold out, so who knows? But use this as your low price point right now. But look at this right here. Apple right now, from Apple Store, is selling the 2022 MacBook Air M2 here, 16 gigs of RAM, 256, $699. Now, this is not the M1, it's the M2 now. That's dropped all the way down to $699, obviously the lowest ever for a brand new MacBook from Apple, mind you. So check this deal out. I mean, obviously, you got the 16 gigs of RAM on top of it, and it's under $700. How can you go wrong there? So hear me out. The new M4 just came out. People might be saying, well, you should probably buy that. That's $999. No, I mean, if you are actually somebody that doesn't care about video editing and just does basic stuff, meaning things everyone else does, like watching YouTube, email, maybe a Zoom call, this is fine. Just get this. Save the money. It's so good. So anyways, I think that's one of the best deals ever on this channel, $699. Okay, for this next story here, just hold on one second. This is going to make more sense in a second for you because what they're promising is not always correct. And whenever you read the first benchmarks of something, it's not always the right benchmark. So here we go. This is actually from Mac Rumors. The M3 Ultra chip is only 10% faster than the M4 Max in benchmark results. The first alleged benchmark result on Apple's new M3 Ultra chip surfaced on Geekbench 6 database tonight. And they're saying it's only around 10 or 8% faster, which had me scratching my head, right? It says Apple said that the new M3 chip is the highest performing chip ever created and that the unverified benchmark result seems to confirm that, but not by much. In the single result, only one result so far, the 32-core M3 Ultra chip achieved a multi-core CPU score of around 27,749 for multi-core. It makes it around 8% faster than the 16-core M3 chip that had the record before. That's kind of crazy, right? But even more so, let me just see down here. It looks like it's basically, oh yeah, this is the weird thing here also. It says, as expected, the M4 Max chip tops the M3 Ultra in terms of single-core performance by about 20%. So we know that, right? The M4 Max is going to have a faster single core than the M3 Ultra. But can the M3 Ultra only be 10% faster on multi-core with all those cores and everything? I don't think so. And this next article is going to kind of prove that to us. So hold on. Okay, Macworld, it says, don't trust those early Geekbench M3 Ultra benchmarks just yet. These low scores aren't an accurate reflection on how powerful the M3 Ultra actually is. So a couple things here that we kind of got into. You know, we just read what they were. We thought they were. It says, we expected the single cores to be lower since it's an M3 versus an M4. That's what I talked about before. But the multi-score should be theoretically a lot higher than the 8% gain. The M3 Ultra has 24 performance cores versus 12 on the M4 Max. While this is not apples to apples comparison, the M3 and M4 chips are built on different, 3-nanometer architecture generations as well. So it's still surprising to see these such low scores. So what's going on? The simple explanation is that Geekbench 6, which is used to test the Mac here, is not built to handle large CPUs, as explained in a post, basically, which tests the top-of-the-line PCR hardware. Higher-end workstations and even higher-end CPUs run into scaling issues with Geekbench 6. In particular, Geekbench appears to have issues when there are more than 16 performance cores. So we can see that those benchmarks that are going to come out initially may not be that accurate because of this exact reason right here. So they're actually thinking it's going to be a lot higher than that. And so hold off on a second and say, if you hear like a lot of videos coming out like this, I'm just giving you the news in advance. That they're probably going to go way up those benchmarks once they all start coming out and they find other ways to test them. Okay, so what about graphic performance on the actual M3 Ultra? Is that going to be really high as well? Well, I think so. Right here, Mac Rumors. It says M3 Ultra chip's massive 80-core graphics performance revealed in the benchmark results. Now, first of all, nobody's really going to probably get that 80-core GPU. At least people that don't, you need to be rich, obviously, to afford that because it's going to be expensive. But if you can actually afford it, it says right here, in one Geekbench 6 result, for the new Mac Studio, the M3 Ultra with an 80-core GPU achieved a metal score of 259,668 right there. So almost 260,000 on the metal score. Now, that's pretty incredible, although it's only like 16 or 20% faster than the M2 Ultra, which is a little surprising. And again, it could be because of obviously how Geekbench works here, and it's not fully accurate. But even just look at the normal number of 260 versus even like, normal MacBook Pros and stuff like that. It's a massive number, and I think most people will be happy with that if they can afford it. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. Alrighty, so right here, Apple Insider. Apple says not every Apple Silicon generation will get an Ultra chip. So here's the M3 Ultra. So in my last video, check out my last video, I talked about my real feelings on this launch. But basically, we didn't get an M4 Ultra with this new Studio, Mac Studio, and everyone's kind of complaining about it. And realistically, I said maybe they were waiting for the Mac Pro. But I'm finding out after reading a lot of articles that it's probably just not even possible, right? So if we kind of go down here it says, basically, the M4 Max does not have the Ultra Fusion connectors. So basically what the problem is in the M3 chips, they actually had the M3 Maxes had Ultra Fusion connectors, which you can connect two M3 Maxes together, but the M4s don't have that connection. So as I'm starting to think about this, I'm thinking what's going to maybe happen is maybe the Mac Pro is going to get either a completely different chip, completely different that nobody's even heard of, that's going to be more powerful, but it's not going to have it's not going to be called an M4 Ultra. Or that's just going to get the M3 Ultra, and they're just going to, this might be the last year that we see the Mac Pro, so we'll have to find out about that. So I thought it was interesting, but after thinking about it and reading some articles and stuff, they don't really have the right connectors, so that's one of the reasons we haven't seen the M4 Ultra, and one of the reasons we probably won't. It might be a different format, like maybe we call it the M4 Premium or something like that, that's completely different in the Mac Pro, but we'll find out soon. Okay, so there's new sales already coming out on Apple's new products that they just launched, which is kind of surprising. They're not huge, but right here we can see one. This is the new Apple iPad 11-inch. It's got the A16 chip right here. So this is the updated version with the A16. It's already down to $329 from $349. So while it's only $20, 6% off there, still, this product was a great deal. Obviously, I'm going to get into why in a second again, but I love this. I'm going to probably pick one of these up because I did give my other one to my sister. So I got to get another one, and I loved it. So I'm going to get this one, and look at the prices already dropping. And then if you watch my last video, I was actually talking about this new 11 gen, or whatever you want to call it, 11 gen iPad, and how I thought it might maybe stayed with the 4 gigs of RAM, but I don't think that's true anymore. We're finding out more information. Very little came out yesterday, but today we're hearing a lot more. Right here from Mac Rumors, it says new entry-level iPad with the A16 chip has more RAM than the iPad 10. So right here, it's basically going to go, let me just go down to here. It says the new iPad with this A16 chip includes 6 gigs of RAM. That's up from 4 gigs. So we're getting 2 more gigs of RAM, going from 4 to 6 on the standard base level, whatever you want to call it, iPad 11th gen, which is great, right? So again, same price. In fact, it's on sale right now. It's down to $329 already. So you get that. Same colors, obviously. You're going to get the faster chip, and you're going to get 128 gigs of storage versus the 64, all again for the same cost. So that's the one I would get. I also talked about the Apple Intelligence not being on it, and I actually am totally fine with that. In fact, I want a product with no stupid AI on it. That's the way I feel. If I want to go in and I want to use ChatGPT or Gemini, I'll do that, but I don't need it on there. This is the perfect product for me. And if Apple comes out with some crazy thing that I need for their Apple Intelligence, I'll just sell this for, at 80% of what I bought it for and buy the next one next year or the year after. So I'm golden with this thing. Maybe you will be, I don't know, but you guys put in the comments, are you going to pick this one up? Because I definitely will. If I had my other one still, I probably wouldn't, but I think this is a good one for me now. Oh yeah, and really quickly, so how much faster is that actual chip? A lot of people are saying, well, the A16 is not that much faster than the A14. Well, actually, this is from Apple Insider. Down here, you can see it right here. The A16 is nearly 30% faster. So I just wanted to make sure I threw that in as well. You can see it right down here. So you're getting a faster chip overall, and it's 30%. And again, all those other things I just added on, it's totally worth it. And again, we got a couple more sales on some new Apple products that just launched. Not a big one, but still something right here. You can see this is the Apple iPad Air 13-inch with the M3 chip. So this is the brand new one. It's already down to $769.99. So from, you're getting $30 off on this one, $20 off on the other one, $30 off on this one. So the sales are starting to slowly flow in, and we're not even a week into the product launch, which is pretty crazy here. And this says, look at it. It says the item will not be released until March 12th anyway. So you can kind of pre-order on Amazon, which is nice. And they're giving you a sale on the pre-launch. When in the world has this ever happened with Apple before? A sale on the pre-launch? They must know maybe not how people are going to buy this or something. Maybe that's why they gave it the older M3 as well, but we'll find out, right? We'll see how many people actually buy this. I still think it's a pretty good deal. Okay, let's talk about the M4 MacBook Air that came out. And like I said, a lot of people from my last video, a lot of people are going to love this new sky blue color, all right? But what does it look like in real life? Well, we have some pictures coming out of what it actually looks like. Apple had a setup in New York, and a lot of people took pictures. So let me just show you here. Here's the article here. It says, here are real-world photos of the new sky blue. Obviously, you can see Apple's kind of, it looks like they're almost like rendered in here. They don't look real. So what does it actually look like? Well, here we go. You can see the guy holding it. So it really depends on the angle. I mean, looks a little bit like a baby blue. Now, obviously, if you hold it at a certain angle, it almost looks like normal gray. So it's really, really close, but I love it because it's not going to show fingerprints. Let's just keep moving here. So, I mean, look at this. From this angle, it almost looks like it's just solid gray. It doesn't even look that blue to me. And it just depends on how the light hits it. So you can see it here as well. I mean, it's really, really faint here. I mean, it looks a little bit bluer here, maybe because it's reflecting off the blue wallpaper there. It's hard to say. So you can see here's, I think this is a silver, this is a blue. I can't tell if these are, see, this is how close they are. I don't know if this is silver, this is blue, or these are both blue. I have no idea, to tell you the truth. Or maybe this is silver and this is the blue. You guys tell me. I think maybe this is the silver, right? So it's that close. And you can see a picture here as well. So overall, I think the pictures are kind of crazy as far as how close it is. But I think in real life, when we get it, when we see it in certain lighting conditions, it's going to be, a difference enough where you're going to know right away. And unfortunately, I don't need one of them right now. Would I get one? Oh, geez, I don't know. Maybe for the channel I'll get one, but if I do, I'm going to get this color for sure. But I don't need it. I need it like I need a hole in my head, so we'll see. But for the channel, I may take one for the team, right? Anyways, let's keep moving. Okay, really quickly, so the new M4 Air did come out. So how much faster is it than the other ones, or how much better is it? Let's just talk about this. Mac Rumors says the M2 versus the M3 versus the M4. Here's some comparisons. So if I scroll down this chart, it's going to be kind of hard to see, but we're kind of going to go down this chart here. And I'm just going to pick out some things that are more important. Obviously, you see like this camera here. This is the over here is the M2, the M3, this is the M4. So obviously these are 1080p. This is a 12 megapixel camera, which is kind of hard to understand exactly what that means. Then it's got 20 billion transistors, 25 billion up to 28. The clock speeds go from 3.49 to 4.05 to 4.3. We go from 8 cores here up to 10 cores, which is a big jump there. And then if we scroll down, this is some bigger things down here. The memory basically is a little bit different, which is this, it's got the little X here, but it's up to about 20 gigabit per second faster right here, you can see there. And we also get up to 32 gigs of RAM. Over here, we were only up to 24. The Neural Engine 2 goes from 15.8 trillion to 18 trillion, all the way up to 38. You can see the big jump here. So if you're doing AI, this is going to make a bigger difference here than if you're just doing normal CPU stuff, obviously. But look at that. That's a pretty big jump there. This didn't jump at all, 3 trillion or whatever. This went up almost over double, I guess. So it's pretty crazy. And then we got the Wi-Fi 6E, just like the version 3 over there. But the price down here, starting at $9.99, that's the key here, which is pretty crazy. I mean, let me just see. I mean, it's just, to me, it's amazing that the price would actually go down after all this. But let's keep talking about this. We'll come back to it. I just think it's a great deal as of the way it is. And then when the sales hit, it's even going to be better. Actually, I did find an article on how much faster this is, and I don't know if I believe this, but this is what it's saying right now. If you've ever followed Cult of Mac here, it says the first M4 MacBook Air benchmarks reveal 50% speed increase. Could this be true? So let's just scroll down and see what they mean here. 50%. It says the Apple M4 chip going into the new MacBook Air version brings a considerable performance boost. Early benchmark scores show the 2025 version of the OS MacBook runs over 50% faster than the 2025 version, which is the M3. So that's what they're actually saying here. Let's just see what we see. It says a benchmark posted Thursday by Primate Labs Benchmark 6 showed that the M4 and a new MacBook Air earned 14,924 in the multi-core test. The M3 version only had 9,728, so 9,000 up to almost 15,000, which means that the processor performed 53% better. On single-core tests, obviously, it went from 3680 up to, actually, it went up, it is 3680, and the older one was only 2596. Sorry about that. So this is the higher one, this is the lower one, and it's a 42% improvement right there. So it went up 42% on the single core, which maybe I could see. But that other one, the multi-core, is crazy, a 52% difference there. So again, most people aren't going to need this unless you're doing video editing and music production, stuff like that. Overall, I don't think you need to make the jump unless you need that, but still, that's pretty considerable. Okay, so we have a couple more low price alerts coming out. Refreshing. And this is pretty good. So let me just talk about this one. I think this is the lowest price ever. Here we go. This is the Apple Watch Series 10, the 42 millimeter case here. That's all the way down at $299 right now, 25% off, usually $399. I've seen this as low as $329. $299, I believe, is the low price alert right now. And all of their watches are going on sale. So check out the 10 series on the Amazon. I'll have a link to all this stuff, but check it out. It's actually doing really well right now as far as all the sales and everything like that. All right, this next one, you're going to be wondering why I have this thing sitting on my desk right here. Well, I went through this a couple weeks ago. I did a product launch of this, or I did like a video about accessories for your Mac. I love this because it can charge your Macs, a bunch of them. It can charge your phone 20-something times. It can charge your tablets like 10 or 15. It's amazing. It's a little battery. It's 270 watt hours sitting right here. And I'll show you a picture of this, but the reason you pick this up is I've been using it even longer, and I carry it around with me all around the house where I don't want to plug into like an outlet or something. And look at what it is. So you're going to look at this right here. It's by a company called, I went through it in that other video, so don't worry about, the name's pretty legit. It's Newsmy, but they're a pretty big company. It's a portable charger power bank. It's $149 for 270 watt hours or 7,200 milliamps, all right? But the key here is it's $149. You're going to say, well, that's only 17% off. But right down here, apply a $55 coupon. So this thing makes it like $95 or something for this thing. $95 for this thing right here. So this thing looks way bigger on my desk than it really is. It's actually way smaller. If I move it back here, you can see about how big it is. Look at that. So anyways, I totally recommend this thing. I've been using it all the time. If you're looking for like a portable battery, this is a good one to pick up, and the sale is still ongoing. Okay, for all the people out there that like to impress their friends and know something that they don't, here's one for you. Mac rumors. New MacBook Air quietly fixes this decades-long design oversight. You can see it right here. So what is this? What did this fix? A lot of people aren't even talking about. Well, first of all, if you scroll down, if you look at that keyboard of previous MacBook Airs, you're going to look at the key right here. And this is the actual Apple mute key. And, purists are saying that there's a problem with this because it just got the speaker, but it's a mute button, right? If you click that, you can mute your thing and you can unmute it. And then when you click it on the screen, it shows a little different symbol. It doesn't show this little kind of megaphone here, whatever, speaker. So what did they fix it? A lot of people aren't going to notice this, but look at now. Now it's got the little line through it, meaning that you're going to mute your speaker. See it right there? So before it had no line up here, and now it has a full line right there. So you can see it. And overall, that's something that most people didn't even talk about. But here it is. And is it cool? Would I ever even cared? No. But still, something to impress your friends with. Okay, this next article is funny and sad at the same time. Let's just hope this kind of thought process trickles through Apple's supply chain. Hold on. Right here, Apple Insider. Apple finally accepts that 64 gigabytes is inadequate for iPhones and iPads. So it says for 8 years, Apple sold iPhones starting at 64 gigs. Now there's no longer available. Obviously, it's only 128 gigs is the minimum. So the reason that's funny and sad at the same time is because we're still buying laptops with 256 gigabytes in them. So let's just hope that Apple has this mindset. 512, 1 terabyte. I think 1 terabyte should be the least you can get on a full MacBook or something, right? I mean, do you guys agree? Now, if we can just get to 512, at least, Apple will probably think that's fine for the next 10 years, but I want a terabyte. But let's just hope they do something. So, like I said in my last video, let's make a clause. Nobody buys another MacBook with only 256 after this launch of this new M4 Air. Anything moving forward, if it's got it, don't buy it. We got to put a stop to it. Do you remember last year when Apple had all those events and stuff about Apple Intelligence, how great it's going to be, and this and that and everything else? It was, you have to buy the phone, you have to have it on your tablets. Well, here's Mac rumors. This is kind of crazy. Apple delays Apple Intelligence Siri features. Apple's delaying some of the Apple Intelligence Siri's features that are expected to be released in iOS 18, and the Apple spokesman said in a statement to Daring Fireball, whoever in the world that is, says Apple says it's going to take longer than expected to roll out the more personalized Siri experience, and that these features will be rolled out in the coming years. So we haven't even gotten the full kind of, probably the most important ones are actually making Siri better, and they haven't even launched most of those things yet. So while they said they're coming and they actually kind of sold you products that said that had it on it, they're not here yet, which is kind of crazy, all right? So take it with a grain of salt, like I said. That's why I buy like the 11th gen iPad. I don't care if Apple Intelligence is on there. I'll use another one. It doesn't matter to me. I'm all in for just using the device because it's a good device, probably the best tablet at that cost. I don't care too much about Apple Intelligence. Okay, this next product sale, you guys have to help me. Is this a good sale or not? Just hear me out for a second and then post in the comments. Would you buy this? Right here. This is Apple 2024 MacBook Air. This is the 15-inch M3 chip, 16 gigs, 256. Now it's the lowest price ever. It's a low price. I wanted to show it, but it's $999 down from $1,300. So we're saving $300 on it. Now, again, hear me out. You can go with the M4 versus the M3. We just saw the M4 was quite a bit, faster and all this other stuff in some aspects. But the 15-inch, for people that don't really use all of that power, why not save $300 if you're going to get the 16-inch or 15-inch? I'm sorry, just save the money, right? It's under $1,000, lowest price alert ever. I think it's still a good deal. So Apple just rolled out this whole launch of products, but what else is coming like in the middle of summer? We know more stuff's coming later in the year, but what's going to be coming like the next batch in the summer? Let's go right here, Mac Rumors. It says, here are the new Apple products we're expecting this summer right here. And you can kind of see a picture down here. It's kind of funny. So we're going to go down a little bit here. It says, number 1, Smart Home Command Center. Apple's working on a new home accessory. And we kind of seen this before, where it's going to be like this little screen here where you can actually use it with cameras and everything else throughout your home, which I think will be a huge launch for them. It's going to be something they have to do. Next one here is the Mac Pro. We talked about that earlier as well. I mean, is that going to have the M3 Ultra, some weird M4 chip that is not even out yet because they can't do the M4 Ultra? We don't know yet. Is it going to cost as much as a house again? We don't know yet. Are they going to get rid of it? Hopefully, maybe, but we'll see. Then we have AirTags 2 here. We know they're coming out as well. They're going to have a couple new features like up to 200 meters or something, or 200 feet or 200 meters of the distance you can actually pick them up is going to be further, and they're also protecting the speaker so people can't really mess with them for security reasons and stuff. But beyond that, it's not going to be that much different. But I still think it'll be worth buying, obviously, when it comes out versus the other ones. We also know that iOS 19 is going to be coming out, and I don't want to get into all the speculation about that, so it's not that important. What else do we have in here? I guess that's about it right now. That's all they're listing here. So we'll see if those things actually come out soon. I mean, that's a long way away. If that's all that's coming out until summer, we got kind of a slow news thing here because my channel is going to have a little bit of trouble finding things. But we'll find out. Maybe they'll drop some things that are kind of a secret. Who knows? Okay, so Apple's typical fashion, you've probably seen this before, and it just makes me laugh, but you got to laugh with Apple as well. So Mac Rumors, it says right here, Apple says the new MacBook Air is up to 23 times faster than Intel-based models, but read the fine print. So I don't know if you saw this all over their website. It says up to 23 times faster. Now, I own Intel Macs, and nothing's 23 times faster. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? So we kind of scroll down here, and it's just, you got to Apple's very sneaky. So it says, right, here's what Apple says in the fine print. It says, tests conducting basically using pre-production 13 and 15-inch MacBook Air systems with the M4 chip. And then it says, against a 1.2 gigahertz quad-core Intel i7 MacBook Air as well. But the thing it says, tested using super resolution with Pixelmator Pro 3 point whatever and a 4.4 megapixel image. I mean, basically, it's one specific tiny little test with one specific software. That's how they got 24 times the thing. If you go down here, it says other things like spreadsheet calculation performance in Microsoft Excel is 4.7 times faster, not 21 times or 23 times. It says down here, video editing in iMovie is 8 times faster. Photo editing in Adobe Photoshop is 3.6 times faster. You can see 2 times faster for this one down here. It says, and other demanding tasks are up to 2 times. So 2 times is quite a bit of difference, right? Way different than 23 times faster, but that's not the way Apple, does it in their advertising. So just always take it with a grain of salt. I mean, don't think like if you have an Intel Mac, you're losing 23 times the amount of time to do the same task, because you're not. If you do that one specific task, which you never will do, then maybe. All right, we got a couple of product sales, and I always talk about this one when it comes down again, just because it's one of the best deals. Well, trust me, it's not a good deal, but it's the best deal from Apple. Let's put it that way. It's not really a good deal on paper. Here it is right here. Apple Studio Display right here is back down to $12.99. So that's usually $1,600. So we're getting $300 off on that. So obviously with these new launches and everything like that coming out, especially the studios and stuff, this is actually a good pickup for a lot of people, and you can't complain. This next one is just a really small thing, but I just want to give a shout out to them. This is not sponsored by them. They didn't pay me or anything like that. They didn't even give me a product lately, but I've gotten TomTac 360 protective laptop sleeves here. $30 right here, 12% off. These are probably the best as far as the material and the zippers made on them. I think this company makes really good ones. You can get a lot of cheap ones from China and stuff. This company, for all I know, might be from China. I have no idea, but everything I've gotten from them is really good, so I just wanted to give them a shout out. And if you're going to buy a sleeve for your new MacBook 14-inch, go ahead and check this out. All right, the next one is just kind of off the beaten trail, but I think it's important to know if you do this. Mac Rumors, it says ChatGPT now integrates directly with Xcode and VS Code on the Mac. So OpenAI has updated the ChatGPT app for Mac OS with the ability to directly edit code in popular development environments, including Xcode, VS Code, and JetBrains tools. So the new feature allows the AI chatbot to make changes to the code without requiring users to copy and paste between the applications. ChatGPT can now read code from the environments and make edits directly within the code. So while this seems good on paper, and I think it is actually for a lot of developers, I mean, obviously if you're working with Xcode, this could be huge. But the question is it, what changes is it making? Are they fully documented? And, do you trust it to make changes to the code? And then, without going through the whole thing again and making sure it didn't make the change that you didn't want it to make, right? Because now you kind of lost control over it, and it can start thinking itself, and maybe you want it to change up here, but it's changing something way down there that you didn't know about. I don't know if that's the case here, but something to think about. Okay, we have a quick rumor here, and take a look over here. This is 9 to 5 Mac. It says iPhone 17 Pro Max will be thicker to make room for a bigger battery, all right? So if we look down here, it says the iPhone 17 Pro Max will be reportedly measure 8.725 millimeters, an increase from the iPhone 16 Pro Max at only 8.25. So 8.25 goes up to 8.725, or 725. So quite a bit actually there. And they're saying it's because it's going to need a thicker battery to keep the battery performance the same. That's unusual for Apple, isn't it? I just thought that was interesting to note. And then we got some renderings on a couple other phones, including the one we just talked about. But take a look over here. Mac rumors. iPhone 17 Air and 17 Pro Max, allegedly the same size apart from the thickness. So we just talked about how this is going to get thicker. I just thought this was an interesting article because you can see that supposedly they're the exact same size on the screens and everything else. Now the cameras are different, but the dimensions of them basically, except for the thickness. And you can see the difference in thickness between now the Pro Max and the iPhone 17 Air. And this is going to be the thinnest phone ever at 5.5. I mean, maybe there's thinner phones out by other manufacturers, but it's the thinnest Apple phone ever, I think, or close to it. So there it is right there. I mean, again, this thing looks like it's going to bend in your pocket. We'll find out if they're going to have a problem. This one definitely won't. And it looks like, this is only saying 8.25 actually. Now, I take this back. They're saying, the other article was saying it's going to go up from this. This is the current version, so it's going to be a lot thicker. So it's going to be way thicker than this actually over here. So take that into consideration when you're going to be buying it. Okay, so the M3 iPad Air came out, and a lot of people are saying, oh, we wanted the M4. Well, if you have the M2, like I said, the M2 is fast enough for everyone. We talked about that, yesterday, I believe, or 2 days ago. But over here, it says Mac rumors. Here are benchmark results for Apple's new iPad Air with the M3 chip. So obviously, we're just getting really that chip. I mean, that's really the major change. There are currently 3 Geekbench 6 results for the new iPad Air, and the device has achieved an average multi-core score of 11,605 so far. The previous iPad Air with the M2 chip has an average multi-core of 9,800. So you can see the difference here, almost 10,000 to 11,600 here. So the M3 chip is about 18% faster than the M2 chip. So you get 18% faster iPad with iOS and stuff, iPad OS, whatever you want to call it. And does it even mean a difference? Because you're not pushing the limits of the M2, so you're going to be even that much further, 18% even further from the limit on the M3, right? So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. This is the kind of thing you buy if you're like way down on the supply, if you have an old one. If you have an M2, don't even think about buying this one because it's not going to be that much of a difference. Okay, so we know that obviously Apple's testing out that new modem on their new phone, the 16E, right? For $599. Still, don't get me started on that. Anyways, over here, Mac rumors. It says Apple's developing faster refresh C1 modem with Wave support for mass production next year. So we had heard that the Wave basically is going to go away, and it did go away in the C1 chip, which is the modem that came out on that new 16E phone. But looks like already right here, based on this article, Apple's already developing a faster refreshed C1 modem that's going to have the Wave built into it. And that means, in certain circumstances, like in stadiums, it's going to be faster and stuff like that, your Wi-Fi, or, your signal basically. And also, AirTags and stuff are going to have a little bit better response as well. So it is important. And I think they're testing it right now with this new kind of low-end phone. And then, on all the other phones, it's going to come out with this version of it whenever it's ready. All right, we got a couple of low price alerts. I think this one is one right here. This is the Apple AirPods Pro 2 wireless earbuds right here. It's down 32%, $169. I think this was like $174 at one time, down from $249. So if you want to pick this up, this has got the H2 chip. It's got personal, it's got everything. This is the, the top of the line one, $249 right now. That's actually a pretty good deal. Low price alert. Now, if you want a good mechanical keyboard for a Mac, I actually showed you many times from Sateki. Here's another option. I've actually used this keyboard. I used it at a store one time and I loved it. I might buy it. We'll see. But I just wanted to give it a shout out. It's the Keytron K10 Max wireless custom mechanical keyboard right here. And again, you can see it in here. It's full mechanical keyboard, and it's got a whole bunch of different things you can do with it, obviously layouts and stuff. But I just like it because it's $119. It works great with Macs, and it's just a really responsive, good mechanical keyboard, easy to type on. It's really high quality for what it is, for the cost, right? Now, keyboards can go all over the range. You can get them really cheap. You can get them really high. This is in the middle. But if you're looking at something that you like mechanical, check out the Keytron K10. Okay, a little while ago I talked about YouTube coming out with a new price tier if you want to get rid of the ads and actually watch it ad-free. And they said, like, this is the crazy thing is they made this new tier, but it's for everything except if you watch music videos. The ads will be in the music videos, but everything else won't have ads. And I said, well, it depends on the price, right? Well, here it is right here. We're going to do a follow-up to it. Mac Rumors, YouTube Premium Lite, that's what they're going to call it. It's only $7.99 a month. Ad-free tier expands to the US. So just like we had talked about, it says in here, it says the new lower priced version of this subscription service functions largely without ads, though music videos on the platform will continue to include them. So you can see it right there. So everything but music videos. I'm thinking about doing this. I mean, I like the ads just to see if my ads are running. I mean, obviously we're YouTubers. We want to support everybody and whatever, right? But you still get paid this way. So obviously you get a cut of that money if people watch it and all this stuff. That's how it usually works. So I might actually get this because I'm so sick of looking at the ads. And I'm sure everyone else is, but we have to support ourselves some way. We make all these videos, but this is one way to do it. Just buy this and then you have to watch any ads. It's only about $8 a month. Okay, this next one's for gamers out there on a Mac. We finally have some good news right here from Mac Rumors. It says Assassin's Creed Shadows coming on March 20th. So you can see here, Assassin's Creed Shadows is set to be released on the Mac on Thursday, March 20th. Apple announced today. And he says the game launch on the Mac at the same time it is released for PlayStation 5, Windows machines, and the Xbox. And you can see a picture of it right here. So if you're a gamer, we finally got, I wouldn't know if, I mean, I guess it's a AAA title. I don't know what you call it, right? But it's a game that a lot of people like to play, and it's coming to a Mac near you. This last one, now hear me out for a second. I say nobody should really buy a Mac with 8 gigs of RAM any longer. And I'm kind of sticking to that, but with this one, I'm not. So if you're a person that's thinking about buying like a 2014, MacBook Air or something, like I get this asked a lot in my channel, and they're like, well, it's going to have 8 gigs or 16 gigs of RAM, and I can only spend this much money. Spend just a little bit more and get this right here, just a little bit more. Now, I'm not recommending this for everyone, but if you have no money and you have to buy something, this is the 2020, basically the Mac Mini, right? M1, 8 gigs, 256. It is renewed, but it's still going to be in really good condition. $289 now, right? So if you can find a Mac for $195, that's what people always say. I find one for $195 and it's like 10 years old. Just buy this, right? Buy this and do everyone a favor because you're going to like this a lot more. And, it might be just a little bit more. Finance it, do whatever you have to do. You're going to get a lot more work done on this. Now, granted, if you can get the 16, get the 16 gigs. But even if you can't, this is still going to be a pretty solid choice. Okay, so we're going to wrap up this week's episode here. I hope everyone's having a great weekend again. You can hear the ice there crackling around. So a couple of people actually talked to me recently and said, why don't you make this a live show? And I might sooner or later, right? I just need to get people to watch it. And once people start watching it more, I think live would be a lot funner, right? I can get some guests on here. It'll be more interactive and stuff like that. I can take questions. You guys post in the comments if you want that. We'll try it maybe one time coming up this year. If it's good and successful, we'll continue it. But right now I'm just trying to get this, just my normal thing go jumping. So, post this places. If you guys post this out on forums and blogs, help me out. Try to get some eyes on these videos for the news, and then we can start expanding it. Peace.